Yeah, I'd like to, first of all, by thanking the organizers of Social Cities of Tomorrow for providing a forum to explore very, very complex ideas in a very short amount of time, and we have about 5 minutes to present these these results. And I also want to, of course, thank the stakeholders for actually giving us a location to test these radical ideas. So that was a great segue from Amsterdam Wastelands about, there's lots of areas affecting the cities right now that are huge tracts of open land that are just sitting underutilized, vacant, and totally unused. And so it was really inspiring for me, at least, to see that there's initiative already taking place about a kind of collaboration, communication. So what we wanted to do is follow up on Temp Architecture's idea of how to get the process going, how to kickstart it, how to build momentum. And they had this very simple idea of these urban pioneers that would kind of go out, scout out these locations, and then they would be able to meet with a manager of the area, a designer with expertise of how to design spaces, the developer with the money, maybe a vision, lending some advice, and ultimately, of course, the landowner. Who are the landowners that are sitting on these things and doing nothing? So one of the first things we did was basically turn the question on its head. What if the urban pioneer was the expert? They didn't need to go to the expert, but he became the expert. He became the landowner. What happens if he himself was the designer? What if he himself was the manager and ultimately the developer? We wanted to use this temp theme to test our hypothesis. What happens if they own a piece of land for 365 days? And so rather than going to a place to meet all these experts, what happens if that place just became a platform? And so we wanted to test this idea with Zeeburger Island. This is one idea, this is one screen we have. Basically, the city of Amsterdam hires a young office to come up with a very temporary plan for the infrastructure and how to access these plots. All the plots are exactly the same. No one has many benefits of each other. They put them, the cost of the infrastructure needs to be built, so that determines the cost of the plots themselves. And then these go online, and of course there's a moment where these people can organize themselves before they go online, and during online they can share this information. So we're just using a scenario now, let's say 1,000 euros. What's a piece of Amsterdam worth for 1 year for anybody? What's important to mention here for Zeeburgers Island is that it's stuck right in the middle of Bornielspoornburg and Eiburg, which are two completely dense suburbs of Amsterdam that don't have any garden space, and all of a sudden you could free up this location for temporary gardens. So these people the bidding's done, they've purchased their plot, they have their app, the home screen is activities, things are starting to happen. They've got contacts, they have a directory of the community, who owns the plots, what are they doing with the plots. Then there's other aspects that we're going to get into called the contribution, and that's another important notion. So your profile, you go to your profile and you can see who your adjacent property owner is. You contact him. You can swap locations because they're all the same, and you get into an immediate dialogue of making community. You start making community, and we're interested in the offline-online parallels because normally in the Folkestown situation you have a clubhouse, and that clubhouse has the notice boards and the message boards, but these are, of course, should become a virtual aspect. So it's a virtual clubhouse where people are notified on the couch and in your bed. There is a barbecue coming up. Who are you attending? So there's this kind of instant community thanks to the location, the plot, but also the virtual communications. So the area in Zeeburg is broken down into a very simple plot. Yeah, a grid. Maybe you have 2 boulevards, and then you have access to the individual plots. Above you see the current situation. It's sitting there. The city doesn't know what to do with it. It's going to be there probably for the foreseeable 5 years. And so the city puts these on for bid, and what you see here are the plots that are for sale. And these plots are organized very simply, 10 by 10 in this case. This is our hypothesis. These gardens are 10 by 10. 75 square meters is your own space of Amsterdam underneath the sky on the ocean. And the flex space is a bit radical about how to negotiate. We want to encourage community coordination and facilitation so they can come up with how you use the other 25%. And ultimately, we want to encourage contributions where people can donate time, energy, skills, networks, and materials to the greater good, to the public area. So that's our hope for Zeeburgers Island.
Well done.
Hi everyone. So we're group number 2, and our case is Haagse Havens. Like Michiel said, we only have 5 minutes. We actually had a very lovely occasion to present yesterday at Mediamatic, but we're trying to cram the idea very clearly into a short amount of space. So if you have any questions, we'll be there to answer them gladly. So our case is Haagse Havens, and for those of you that are not familiar with the name or the term, that is an area in The Hague, and that is an industrial area which has also a very rough image in The Hague and in Holland in general. So a few years back, in 2005, there was a huge, one of many, but there was a huge master plan to completely demolish the area and rebuild it, which was going to be executed by the municipality. However, due to obviously the crisis and lack of money, now all of a sudden they have to scrap that because they don't have the money to execute it. So they turned to the idea, well, we actually want to give the initiative to the people and ask them for ideas what to do with that space, which is where we got along. So the questions that were posed to us are, how can we map the cultural and economic values that are in the area, and how can we use and build upon those values in order to improve the area? But after some research on the ground, we actually said, well, the values are actually quite obvious to all the people that are on the ground. So we got much more interested by mapping the issues, as in why are those qualities not shining through? That was our big question. And the answer that we came up with was communication. And there is a huge lack of trust between all the stakeholders, specifically the municipality, which is now, in order to execute that master plan, which was scrapped, they're now the owner of about 90% of the land in the area. And there are a lot of, about 300 business owners. Like I said, it's an industrial area, so there are many stakeholders, but there's a huge lack of trust in between them. There's no efficient communication as to actually what is the vision of the area. Does anyone have a vision? What is going to happen there? So we wanted to obviously help them with that, and we came up with 2 stages, stage 1 and 2. And if you just look at the pictures, I'll try to explain a little bit more briefly what it is about. So stage 1 is a very small and tangible step that we wanted to give to the stakeholders so that they can get things moving along. And that involves making a trailer, a campaign trailer, which is called Love Hate Binkhorst. And Binkhorst is one of the areas in Haagse Havens. And that trailer would be executed, and it would get input from a small team from the municipality and the business owners. So we really wanted to just bring a team of 5 together and get things going and get them to collaborate together. And at the end of that project, there would be a point of recommitment where all the stakeholders would actually get together. We would have an event, and they would actually commit to then stage 2, which is get a little bit more involved. And stage 2 is our initiative, Choose Your Neighbor, Meet Your Neighbor. And the most important aspect of that initiative is that it actually has an online and an offline element. And it's something that we found very important to do. So not only address an online, the online community, but from our research on the ground, we found out that there is a huge amount of the business owners that were very happily non-digitally savvy, and they didn't have any interest or any reason, any incentive from their clients to actually become a digitally savvy audience. So what we wanted to do was, again, open up communication between the stakeholders, but also foster co-creation and really link those online and offline communities together, which is what was missing in the area. So our online part, which is Choose Your Neighbor, would be essentially a community website, and it would be an evolving map. And that map would take input from all the stakeholders, business owners, from even visitors from the area, that would have the opportunity to suggest ideas for what to do, like a particular business to put in one vacant spot or another, or improvements for public spaces or events that they wanted to share, or communal projects that they wanted to start, and so forth. And that would create a records and also literally an evolving map of the vision of that area that will be co-created by everyone. And for the very offline people, we have the Meet Your Neighbor part of the initiative, which is an offline lunch bus. And figured out that there was a lack of actually lunch facilities in that industrial area, so that was also playing nicely on the gap there. So we would gather one person from the municipality, which would be on that bus, and then we would have the opportunity for business owners to get on there and around the table actually discuss what was happening. And they would have also a snapshot, which was a tablecloth map of actually the current situation of the online map, and they would have the opportunity to have a discussion again what they wanted to happen with their area, but they would have the opportunity to feed on the current state of the online, and then that information would be then blogged and linked back through to the online parts of the initiative. So again, it's very much about looping and connecting the online and offline parts and creating that loop of co-creation. And by this, we eventually wanted to improve communication and then build trust, which is very much lacking at the moment. And ideally, through co-creation, also boost the identity of that really great area and make it more visible. Thank you.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Ellen, and we are the third team. I think someone's missing here. Well, actually two. Nicola's still sitting there. One of the guys had to leave yesterday, and the other one is somewhere else. Yeah, with a sick kid at home. Stuff that happens. Okay, so we've been assigned to work on a third case, which is about the Stripe S. This is an old industrial site in Eindhoven, the city of Eindhoven, which is in the south of Holland. And as you can see the picture, it's an old industrial site from Philips. And this is about 10 years ago, they started a new development to make this a new part of the city. And the ambition for the area is quite high. The ambition is to make a new cultural creative center of Eindhoven in this area, which is quite something, with high density, 24/7 activity, vibrancy, attractive facilities, etc. And the stakeholders in this area, they are targeting a very specific group of young urban people who are going to be very creative. Well, you can see a bit where they're going. So at the first stage, we were a bit wondering what this had to do really with the theme of this conference, the social cities. And so we've been going around the assignment, because what we were asked to do is to come up with a proposal to use urban media to make this a really vivid urban environment. So we said, okay, but how are you going to use urban media to do that? You need people to do that, really. So what we've been doing is we came up with an answer which is in a certain way a bit provocative. And it's about a crossover between virtual media and physical space, and with the Living Lab as a central concept. Okay, so at the present stage, there are actually no people living there. There's a community of creative people working there at the place, and there are festivals, events, and lots of creative activities. So we said we don't want just the place to be nice and neat and very pleasant and to be fun. If you want urbanity, you also have friction, so accept that, and we're going to introduce that. You regard the place, the site, as a living lab, so we're going to make it a living lab, and we're going to use it as a temporary social experimental zone. And the reason that we do that is because we want to get the people involved, not just being there as a visitor and have a nice time, but really get involved and working on building a social city and building a social capital. And in the end, you will get to your ambition and have a new urban environment. So, of course, this is really a compact reflection of what we've been doing. But what we are suggesting is that you can have an online community where you can add your proposals. Like if you need a place, you have room here, you have space, there's nothing going on, and they're actually doing it as a living lab. So you have room to experiment and go to the extreme. And if you need time, a place to perform, to meet people, to experiment, to research, I mean, I could imagine this being a fantastic site to do the flight experiments and flight lessons. It's just the place to do that. And so you have an idea, but you need a place to do that. It could also be just a place to play and to have fun. You can do a proposal, but it's not for free. You need to source a crowd. You need to get people to assist you, to help you, and to support you, and to attend your events. There are deadlines, so we have an event calendar, and so it's linked to the festivals that are happening there, and to extend the time lapses that people are being there and taking part of it. And you can actually build things as well, so you can pre-design it on the online community, and then if your proposal is going to happen, it's going to be built there. So enter the game zone and beware.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Attila, and on behalf of team number 4, which is a team of 7 people from many different countries and disciplines, I would like to present our case, which is Amsterdam Civic Innovators Network. And our commission was by the municipality, actually by the Office of Economic Affairs, like Economische Zaken or something like that, is whether what the city should do in order to create or foster or enable a civic innovators network. And what we have done is we talked to the Office of Economic Affairs and also the HEC, the government, who Albert just told about their common initiative. And what we first said, first like mapped, is what are the goals of the city. And also it quite much relates to the fact that this a few bunch of people within the city, in part of the Office for Economic Affairs, is actually they have mainly economical reasons to foster this. So they want to be, of course, more efficient and make better service, but they want to really foster business innovation, attract more residents, attract businesses, and also have a good impact on tourism, which is a big benefit for the city. And actually, to democratize this is just one of their few, just a minority of their intentions. This is how kind of a diagram showing how they see it. So the question is like how city should enable or create or an infrastructure. Is it an infrastructure? Are these conditions? Or is it a platform? They were actually looking for a solution, a platform. They asked us to say what this platform should be that will help solving this, and it will everybody become happy. They have some examples like Change by Us or Code for America. They imagine something like that. And also they already have some, they have some projects like Apps for Amsterdam. The problem is how they can sustain it, because they made this contest and it was quite successful. It also gained quite much press attention. But now it's over. And they had also another project for collaborative urban design. Of course, they announced it for one topic, but now no one is maintaining the website and it's dead. Maybe the domain is still valid, but you have to make it sustainable. Now this is how we kind of mapped how the city is working now. They are managing basically people and social services, managing business, like relate to the business, which is also economic power, environment, and how the city is functioning. And they kind of want to create something like a layer related to or run by the city, which we really won't really work. It's more like we have to create this civic innovators network outside of city, which means that also it's about giving away power, giving away role of the city, and I will get back to later why it's a critical question. If we want to design a system, it has to be sustainable, which means that there is a balance for all the stakeholders of their benefits and contributions. And I don't like the word benefit, because it's too much refers to money. I like the word motivation much more, because motivation can be many things, like recognition of the community, feeling part of the community, or seeing things evolve, or just feeling good by doing something with friends, and actually which is useful for the community, but also can be money, but that's minor part. And if you look at it in total, it's a zero-sum game, right? So if there is a balance, that for the whole it's a zero-sum game, but if you take from the city's perspective, ideally it's actually a positive outcome. And just quickly, for the last slide, what is the roadmap, what we proposed for the city or the municipality is to connect to existing communities and platforms. Don't try to make new platforms right away, because that's a lot of work. I mean, you won't be able to sustain it like that. And secondly, it's very important to open up both internally and both towards the citizens, because when I talk about motivations for individuals, it's also about the city workers. And the question is how they will become motivated, because maybe they are more afraid of the city hall losing power, losing role, and also themselves losing jobs, than actually become motivated to be open for civic innovation, and just kind of let it grow and create an atmosphere, create conditions that are quite allowing. Yes, thank you. Sorry, I got a little bit nervous for the end.